Congratulations on being selected to be a member of your school's SALT program. Now, with membership comes responsibility, and over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about that responsibility and how we can help you prepare for it so that you can become a positive role model and influential leader on your respective teams at your school and in life. Hello, I'm Jack Williams, the founder and CEO of the Ideals Foundation and creator of the Ideals Leadership School and this SALT program. We began our Ideals Leadership School way back in 1993, and we developed our first SALT program in 2010. Let me share a little bit about my background so that you can see why I became involved in these programs. I was a former college quarterback at Georgia Tech, captain of the team, top 15 ranking in a bowl victory. But let me tell you, I'm not very talented, and I wasn't back then either. If I had to pass this football 50 yards in the air back then, I'd have to throw it and catch it and throw it again. I couldn't get it there in one toss. And when they talked about speed and Jack Williams, it was always preceded by the two words, lack of. As you can see, I'm also not very physically intimidating. You can rest assured that you never saw my name in any of the reports of athletes using steroids. Well, after playing, I was able to coach football at the college level for 7 years before entering a career in business. I've led 3 companies and applied many of the same things I learned in athletics in those roles. Well, to sum up, I'm one of you. Yes, from several years back, but see, there's a special bond between athletes of all ages. We all know what it takes to compete and the sacrifices and the commitment, the skills and intangibles needed to be successful. The SALT program is not designed to help you run faster, jump higher, or be physically stronger. Your coaches will have to help you do that. What this program is designed to do is to help you become the leader that your coaches feel you can be and help you develop the intangibles that can differentiate you as an athlete, a person, leader, and as a role model. These skills can benefit you right now, and they'll continue to benefit you long after your playing days are over. That's our guarantee if you'll fully get engaged and apply what we're going to share with you during this series. Let's first understand, though, that right or wrong, our society has placed athletes at all levels of competition in positions of influence. That means you. That's not going to change. What does need to change, though, is the type of influence athletes have on those people that they influence through their behavior, their decisions, and their values. In a later session, we're going to show you what a broad circle of influence that you actually have even at your age. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to surprise you. Well, let's get started. I encourage you to give these short videos and the discussion that follows your undivided attention. You're being provided a competitive advantage by going through this SALT program. What you do with this opportunity is strictly up to you. Good luck. Let me tell you a story. Back in 1994, I was out running. I was listening to a tape. That'll give you some idea about how long ago it was. And the tape brought up this concept of principles. Let's start with making sure we all understand what we're talking about here. We're not talking about a school principle. A principle is a code of conduct, something sacred, a guiding foundation, a truth. In other words, it's kind of what you believe in. That's why I decided to go through an exercise of writing down in sentence form those things that I believed in. I began writing them down in no order or preference, just using sentences that began with the 2 words, I believe. I might add, I wrote my original list by hand and I put it in ink to make it a little bit more personal. This was a great experience of writing down the things that you truly believed in and want to shape your behavior and decision making. These are the foundational blocks for your life and all the choices that you make during it. If you and I don't have a foundation, we can easily make poor decisions that we'll regret later. It was also a very intense exercise because when you begin writing sentences that start with the 2 words, I believe, you better be careful what you write. Over a 2-week period, I'd written sentences that covered 2 pages front and back. Then I began to review it and I saw some statements that were kind of virtually saying the same thing, and I made a few other modifications as well. After editing, I came up with 1 sheet of paper covered on both sides with statements, and they were revealing the specific things that I believed in. There were over 50 statements in all. Now, looking back, I'd have to say this was one of the most important and meaningful efforts I've ever gone through. I'd like to show you 2 of my original earlier versions just so you can kind of get a feel for what they look like and you can realize they've kind of been worked over pretty good. Right now, your teacher is going to put you through an exercise. Your teacher is going to break you into small groups and discuss why it's beneficial to develop a personal I believe list while you're young and how it can help you as a person and in your career and in your life. Okay, so we now all agree this is a good thing to do. Now let's get into some specifics about how to use this list. Let me be clear up front. The items on my list don't necessarily represent all the things that I'm doing right now. All of my actions are not necessarily supporting all these statements. I wish. But these were the things that I wanted to use as my goals, my model to live by. The objective was to have these beliefs in writing and use them both as goals and also for personal accountability. It's a work in progress as I work to match my behavior and decisions to those things that are on my I believe list. Here's what I did with my list. For the first 11 years, I'd start each day reading my list as a reminder of what I believed in and to keep it fresh in my mind as I ventured into a new day, not knowing what situations I might encounter or decisions that I might have to make. It also served as a good accountability document in the mornings because when I revisited the previous day and I compared my actions and decisions with the statements on my list. I have to admit there were some days where my activities and behavior the previous day were in contrast to what I said I believed in, and I had to acknowledge that. Now, after those first 11 years, I switched from reading the list every day to starting my week on Monday reading the list as a way to kind of kick off a new week. Even though I don't read it every day anymore, I will say there's still some weeks out there that I read it more than just on Monday because I feel like I really need to. Now, if I were recommending it to someone else, as I'm going to do for you in just a minute, I would say it's imperative that you begin reading it daily as a constant reminder of what's really important to you. The daily repetition is important. I suggest doing so in the morning before you start your day. All right, we're going to do our second exercise. In order to help you begin thinking about what to put on your list, I found it helpful to think about different areas of your life that you might want to create an I believe statement. So I want you to stay in your small groups and I want you to brainstorm some of the areas that you might want to consider. I'll give you a few examples to get started. Words like or areas like integrity, family, finances, relationships. These are areas that you might want to have a belief statement about. You get the picture. Okay. I hope you had a great discussion and came up with a list to help you jumpstart your thinking. Your teacher is now going to hand out a long list of areas that you might want to keep as a reference point as you begin working on this list. I'm sure you talked about many of them in your discussions. But to give you a feel for some of the things on my list, I want to share some of my I believe statements with you. By doing so, I think it'll help you get a better feel for how this exercise works in the process. I'm not trying to influence you that these beliefs should be yours. It's a pretty interesting list that covers a lot of areas in my life. Again, this is my list. All right, here's my most current version of my I believe list, and it's the 9th version because I keep it current as some things change in my life, and you'll want to do the same thing. You'll notice that I now do it on a computer. I've edited and paraphrased some of these examples from my personal list to keep them brief and concise for this exercise. After the session, you'll actually get a copy of my most recent personal list. I'm going to share these in 3 categories that might make them a little easier to understand how they apply to my life. My personal list, however, was written without breaking them into categories. Either way will work. You just do whatever is best for you. And just remember, this is your list. Let's start with personal traits and development. One of the first statements is, I believe my integrity and my character must never be compromised. It's a 24/7 job. There are no off days or vacation days. You are what you are 24/7. I believe in establishing a good name and preserving it through my actions. It doesn't take but one bad, thoughtless decision to destroy a lifetime or a multi-generations of a great name. Some of you have blessed with been carrying forward a great family name. Congratulations. Unfortunately, some of you may be faced with overcoming someone else's bad decisions, and you've got to start working on developing a good name to pass on to your children. I believe in discipline and the value it brings to my life. Discipline is so critical in so many things that we are involved in. We all need strong self-discipline to accomplish the goals that we've set. We're going to talk more about that in a particular session in the future. Let's go to the next category of relationships. I believe in honest and clear communication and being transparent with people. Most people will hold back and not let you know how they really feel about things, and it's really hard to trust people when you know they're not being transparent with you. I believe in being a good friend and being there when they need me. See, friendship is a privilege, but it's also a responsibility, and it should not be taken lightly. I believe I need to spend more time investing in others. You see, life is all about relationships. I believe the people that I choose to spend time with will play a big part in shaping who I am and who I become, good or bad. And that starts right now in high school, and it's going to continue to apply the rest of your life. I believe in not comparing myself to others and other people's definition of success. You see, that's a lose-lose situation. Either you think you're better than them, which is bad, or you think they are better than you, which is equally bad. You got a full-time job, folks, just being you, and you need to determine what your personal definition of success is for your life. This is so important that we have a separate class on this topic a little later for you. I believe it's not about me. Hey, personally, this is a hard one. I have to successfully manage my ego. If you don't think you have an ego, you're already trying to fool yourself. If you just focus on others first, you'll be fine in the long run. The last group we want to look at is responsibility and accountability. I believe in accountability. There has to be accountability in our lives. It's easy to say you're going to do something and then not do it. Doesn't take anyone special to do that. But to do what you say you're going to do begins to differentiate you from others. Don't tell someone you're going to do something unless you actually plan to do it. I have an old phrase that some people are all hooey and no doey. They talk a good game, but they don't deliver. You probably know some folks like that. In Texas, they have a term, they say, big hat, no cattle. I believe there will always be consequences for all my decisions, good and bad, based on the decision. And sometimes those consequences last long after the decision has been made. I believe in learning from the past, but not dwelling there. See, we have to learn to forgive our prior mistakes and just move on. Don't continue to beat yourself up for a bad decision. You're going to make some bad decisions. Just try not to repeat them. I believe in the power of setting goals. You have to know what you're working for. See, a strong why and a strong will can create a way. If you're passionate about something, you'll find the way to make it happen. I believe in being debt-free. Now listen carefully. Debt may be the biggest burden any of you will face in your lifetime if you don't understand how to make wise financial decisions. I believe I have the same amount of time as everybody else, 10,080 minutes every week, and it's my responsibility to use it wisely. No reason to ever say, hey, I didn't have enough time. What that means is I didn't plan my time wisely and I let it control me. I believe in seeking wise counsel on important issues. I don't have all the answers. You'll end up finding that eventually as well. Why not start understanding that from the very beginning and save yourself a lot of frustration? I believe I'm not going to be judged by the situations or conditions that I find myself in, but rather how I respond to them, because that's the only thing I can control. I might create some of those situations by my actions, but a lot of times things just happen, don't they? And you got to learn how to deal with it. You will experience adversity in your life. You notice I didn't say you might, I said you will. And when it comes, you have a choice. You can either play the victim card or you can become a student and learn from it. I believe in doing just the next right thing. It's not complicated. If you just ask yourself, what should I do next? Don't get caught up in long-term action plans, but just start with the very next step that you should take and then kind of go from there. It kind of really simplifies your decision-making process. All right, these are some of the items that are on my I Believe list. I hope it's been helpful to give you a feel for how this process works. Remember, this is my list. I'm not saying these statements should be on your list. You need to decide what goes on your list. What I am saying, though, is you have to take the time to think about what principles are really important to you, and are you willing to base your actions, your behavior, and your decisions on them. Okay, we want to do one more exercise. I want you to stay in your small groups I want each of you to begin your I believe list by writing 5 personal I believe statements that you want on your list. And after doing so, I want each person to share with their statements with their small group. This exercise is intended to kind of give you a feel for the process of beginning to develop your personal list of beliefs. I encourage each small group to provide some comments and feedback when people share their personal statements. All right, each of you now have a feel for how this works and have at least 5 statements on your list. Good job. Let me make a couple closing comments. Let me share what I want to refer to as kind of the key learnings from today's topic. We all need to take the time to think through what we believe in. As someone once said, if you don't believe in something, you'll fall for anything. Your I believe statement should be your guiding principles that shape your behavior, your actions, and your decisions. You'll benefit the most when you review your I believe list each day as a reminder of what you believe in and keep it fresh on your mind. It also can really become a good scorecard to evaluate how your actions are supporting or not supporting your beliefs. Be honest when that happens and be objective when doing so. Don't play games with yourself. This I believe list will be a work in progress. You'll find that you'll want to add some statements as you progress through different stages of your life. You saw from my personal list, it's my 9th version. And also, don't get discouraged. It's going to take some time to shape your behavior and your decisions to match consistently your beliefs. There'll be some setbacks. Again, don't get discouraged. The key is to constantly be honest in evaluating how you're doing and be willing to work on the behavior issues that you're struggling with. All right, I've got one action item for you. Take the next week or so and develop your personal I believe list. You've already got to start to it. This is a personal list, and you can choose to share it with a person as your accountability partner, or you can just keep it personal. Each choice is fine. See, before you can become successful in whatever career you choose to pursue, you first must understand what you believe in and what's important to you. Your I believe list will be the first step in helping you do just that.